into. So let's talk a little bit about CEO of Cassaberry Consulting.
Right. So how Cassaberry Consulting even came about, my senior year of college, I in University of Akron, I was playing basketball one day and I tore my shoulder out of place, like on some crazy play. Somebody, fell on my arm or whatever. So I dislocated my shoulder. I had to go to the hospital. They put it back in place. I was in a sling for like a week. And I never liked taking like pain medicine because it always made me groggy. So that night, because I was in pain, I pretty much just sat at my desk thinking the whole night. And I thought to myself, like, Trevor, you're about to graduate. It was coming to realization how much debt I was actually in because going to University of Akron, I had no financial aid package because I was a transfer student and my mom made a lot. So I had to just take the whole thing out in loans, which was also a terrible idea. And that wasn't even like federal subsidized loan. That was private loans from Discover Bank, which had an interest rate that was like 9%. It was the worst choice I ever made in my life. But I'm like, you're about to be, $100,000, $110,000 in debt. How are you supposed to pay that back? So I was told that when I graduate, I should expect to make a salary around $70K. That was absolutely wrong. I actually, when I graduated, getting that $28.50 an hour, that salary is technically like a 56, 58,000 or something like that. But remember, that's before taxes. So one thing I try to express to people now, as a business consultant is calculate your income after taxes because that's how much money you actually touch, especially if you're not, self-employed. But when I tore my shoulder out of place that night, I was watching a basketball game, and since I couldn't go to sleep from the pain, I was just thinking to myself, what am I going to do to make money? And, I'm like, I got engineering. I can't say basketball because my shoulder is out of place. It's not like I have a agent where I can go pro overseas or something like that. And I used to, I didn't want to be a lifeguard the rest of my life. I used to do math tutoring. I'm not about to tutor people in math every day after work. That's not going to be what changes my life. So I was like, that means I have to start learning about money and business and all of that other stuff right now. So that same night, I'm like, it's late. What can I do? What can I do? I'm watching the NBA and I'm just like, I'm going to write down 10 things I would change about the NBA. And I wrote down a list of 10 things. And then over time, that was February of 2016. From then on, I started every single day learning, just researching on my own about business, investing, and everything in between. So any company, like an insurance company, I didn't know how they made money. I didn't understand it. I just researched it myself. And that's probably the one thing I can take away from college because, like I said earlier, in the classroom, they just give you a little introduction and you have to go home and read and research on your own to actually learn is you don't become successful in college until you realize you have to, dedicate yourself to teaching yourself. Like the professor is there to assist you and introduce you to new topics, but you have to go learn it on your own. If you're not willing to do the research, you're just not going to learn it because the professor does not feel it's their job to teach you every little thing. They give you a syllabus telling you the stuff you need to learn, not that they're going to teach it all to you, one-on-one.
So I think that's something that, high school students need to understand.
Especially.
That what you're supposed to be learning in, elementary education and even into high school education, you're not necessarily learning things for a career, you're learning how to learn. So
right.
When they teach you history, when they teach you, writing, you're learning writing not because, a high school teacher is going to teach you how to write a book. They're teaching you the basics and fundamentals so that now you're in college, they don't have to teach you punctuation. They don't have they don't have to teach you how to put a sentence together. Now it's about the research and the ability to take those fundamental skills. And I think it's hard for high school students to understand because they're like, why do I need to learn this math? Why do I need to learn, I'm not going to use these fractions. I'm not going to use this stuff. And it's so interesting for me when my kids talk about it because I'm like, I own a business.
Yes, you are.
I own a business and everything from geometry to calculus to algebra, those are things that if you're allergic to them, it's going to hurt you when you have to now work with tax professionals and rely on people to do work for you that you're going to have little to no understanding of, because now you have no basis for understanding if they're doing their job well, which means they have power over you and you have no ability to sort of open that up and see what they're doing. Even just basic understanding of things, if you're working with a plumber, to know, wow, there's a mess of wires and shoddy looking work. I don't need to know how to put the whole plumbing system together, but I need to know what that work should look like when it's done, at least on a very basic element. That way I can judge whether or not this professional is doing a good job or not. Otherwise, people are taking me to the cleaners.
Right. Yeah. So, that's exactly it. Because my main thing was learning all of this stuff about business. It was extremely beneficial because, that what I ended up doing with those 10 things that I changed about the MBA, that became my first business plan. Like I would just, at one point it got to the point, I wrote everything I changed about the MBA, and it's just like, okay, at this point I'd have to be a billionaire to pull all of this off. And, I don't have any money for that, so I'm done here. But then I'm like, okay, Trevor, just pretend you was a billionaire, or pretend that money wasn't an option, or you knew a billionaire that was interested. He said he'd put up the money, or she would put up the money. Then what? Then it was like, okay, well, now that means I got to find quotes and, give them how much it will cost and what size piece of real estate they're going to need to build the gym, what kind of engineers they're going to need to draft it up, what kind of contractors they'll need to, perform it. So, I'm just literally, I'd go as far as to just look, okay, STV Inc. would be the company that designs it. Okay, I find contractors online that build the basketball courts and all this other stuff. And I'm like, it got to the point I have it sitting at all times, a full plan to build a whole professional basketball league in the Bronx. And in me having to learn everything I need to learn to make that plan, I end up learning so much more about business and investing. And at the end, it just came down to the point of, Trevor, I just learned, Trevor, if you want to be financially successful, you won't be doing it on your own. You will need other people around you that have capital and also assets. Because it was like, it got to the point I'm like, all right, the jerseys that get cleaned, they're going to need, the jerseys that get worn, I'm not going to want, a professional athlete doesn't go home and wash his jersey and bring it to the game. They leave it there and it gets done by whoever does the laundry. So where are we going to do that? So I'm like, okay, either I need to have a laundromat or I need to know somebody that has a laundromat. So at that point, I'm like, okay, if I just know someone that has a laundromat, I don't need the money. At that point, it's just like, get this person to own one of the teams. And, so at that point, I start learning, okay, I don't need capital for everything. I need people that have capital, people that can understand how to do different things and put them in position. And as long as everybody understands their position and how it puts the whole goal together, and how they benefit from it, everybody will be there for the win. So it's like, you might own the catering company, I might own the gym, and somebody else might own the laundromat. But if the laundromat guy knows I can put up some money, own a basketball team, make money that way, and then I know my laundromat still makes money because all the jerseys get washed here, he's happy. After every game, the meal that gets eaten is presented by your catering company. You're happy now. Okay, now I think I should own a basketball team or sponsor this tournament. Me, as the person who owns the gym, if I have a league in the gym, now more people come to the gym to see other things. If I have other businesses in the gym, like an arena would have, people can now shop at those businesses. I can charge them rent. So it's like, that's how I started learning business, just building out that business plan. So I knew by the time I graduated that at some point I would start a business, because I would need smaller businesses to fund what was my dream at the time of starting that basketball league.
That's amazing. And I love that, because that's they're actually doing that, which is so impressive